There are some places you just don't want to visit if you value your life, sanity, or both. These are locations that have been sealed off by authorities or governments to keep everyone safe, from the most remote jungle temples to creepy buildings with classified pasts. But there is a strange sort of place that has managed to avoid being put on any map or hidden away from plain sight: small towns. These are communities so normal they look like any neighborhood on the surface, but hiding a secret underneath. Every full moon in the quiet town of Blackridge, someone changes into a terrifying beast and terrorizes the town before returning to their human form in the morning, having no memory of what they did. And no one knows who it will be until it's too late. That is how it has been for over 30 years since the curse was first unleashed upon them. It all started with the founder of the town, Jedediah Blackridge. He was known as the Beast of Blackridge due to his vicious temper, mistreatment of others, and enjoyment of hunting down animals for sport. But he had a particular fondness for fishing. For many nights he would cast his line out onto the lake, hoping for the biggest catch, which he would then skin and hang up to dry for future meals. His obsession even led him to attempt to fish out the legendary kraken, said to live in the deepest parts of the water. But one night he hooked something big and he meant to reel it in. But as the creature began to drag him into the lake, he found himself screaming for mercy. Somehow he managed to get back to shore, but the line had cut deep into his flesh and left a nasty scar across his leg. In a fit of rage, he kicked over his boat, breaking it in two. That was when the whispers in the water became audible. The forest around the lake, which had always been hushed and still, began to shake as the trees violently swayed, knocking over many that had stood for decades. Then the voice boomed from the darkness. "You will pay dearly for this, Jedediah Blackridge." Before he knew it, the ground beneath him had dissolved into quicksand, swallowing him whole. His house fell next, then his farm and everything else he owned. The lake began to glow an unnatural red and eventually returned to normal, leaving behind only a single log and the broken pieces of his boat. And the very next day, a dense fog rolled in that prevented anyone from entering the area. It stayed for weeks, even though the sun was shining brightly overhead. When the fog finally lifted, the land was completely devoid of any trace of Blackridge or his life there, as if he had never existed at all. A few months later, another family moved to the town, followed by more and more. They named the town Blackridge in honor of the mysterious figure who had vanished and built their lives on the remains of his farm. Over time, people forgot about the strange circumstances surrounding the town's name and got on with their lives. They laughed and played, fell in love, had kids, worked and retired, living happy lives. That was until the first full moon when the curse struck again. The monster from the lake had taken a life. When morning came and the sun rose, they found the victim in the middle of town, changed and lifeless. Soon enough, they found the culprit as well. They had transformed back into their human form after releasing the beast within them and were sitting next to the body, confused and scared, unable to remember what they had done. But they were clearly the one responsible, as they had the same scar as Jedediah on their leg. Whoever had become the monster had lost control and attacked anyone nearby until sunrise returned, and they reverted back into themselves. The citizens took this revelation as a sign that the monster from the lake had returned in them, passed down from Jedediah through bloodline. They didn't know why or how, but they came up with one solution: killing whoever bore the mark of the beast. So each month, under the light of the full moon, they would hold a ceremony where they identified the individual who had the scar and prepared to do battle with them. They had no way of knowing who would be targeted next, but they hoped it wouldn't be one of their loved ones. As they waited, fear spread through the town and trust began to crumble. Friends became suspicious of one another, lovers were afraid to confess their feelings, and parents worried about their children. Each full moon, the anticipation grew and they all tried to act normal, pretending they weren't terrified of becoming monsters and ending up alone in the end. and every full moon, someone died. That went on for years until people started to lose hope. After all, it wasn't like the town could continue like this forever. Eventually, it would exhaust its population completely. So they decided they needed to find a way to break the curse. One elderly woman named Hester, who had seen more than her share of ceremonies, had an idea, though she had no idea whether or not it would work. She approached the council and told them about an old legend she had heard from her grandmother. According to it, the monster from the lake wasn't evil, but rather had been betrayed by Jedediah, who had lured it out only to harm it. Maybe if they could find a way to apologize for what he had done and make amends, then they could undo the curse. All they needed to do was offer the beast a worthy sacrifice. They had no idea what form the monster would take, but she believed it was worth trying. Maybe they would get lucky and it wouldn't be a violent animal. Maybe it would appreciate a gift instead. So under the next full moon, while the town held their ceremony, Hester crept out into the streets and placed a large offering of fish and meat near the center of town. The citizens saw her and stopped what they were doing to glare at her, believing she had lost her mind and endangered them all. But when the monster appeared, they watched in amazement as it approached her offering, ate until it was full, then disappeared once again until sunrise. It did this every full moon for several years until one night the sacrifice wasn't enough. The beast became angry and wreaked havoc on the town. Hester saw this and knew she had to do something. She approached the creature and apologized for what Jedediah had done. She offered herself as a replacement, begging the monster to let the town live in peace and take her life instead. To their shock, the beast seemed to understand her words and was taken aback by her kindness. It roared one last time before vanishing into the rising sun. And that was the last time it ever attacked Blackridge. Hester had broken the curse, but not in the way they had expected. She had hoped to lift the curse entirely, but instead she had convinced the monster to stop attacking them and take her life instead. So every full moon, the beast took her life and she offered it up as a sacrifice. In return, the town was spared. This continued until Hester passed away peacefully in her sleep of old age, having saved Blackridge for decades. But the story doesn't end there. You see, whenever the beast took a life, it inherited a piece of their soul. That meant it had taken a part of Jedediah, the original bearer of the scar, as well as every other victim it had claimed since. And now it was going to take Hester's. With her death, all those souls would be transferred to whoever had the mark. So as the sun rose after her final sacrifice, the citizens gathered together to prepare for the worst. But when they checked for the scar, they found that it had vanished. Hester had broken the curse for good. Now, every full moon, the town of Blackridge celebrates Hester's Day in remembrance of the woman who saved them from the beast. And no one knows where that part of the beast went or what it might be planning, but they hope it won't return. After all, you never know what sort of person might be hiding in plain view.